Boys State, new documentary feature distributed by Apple. It follows the 2018 edition of Boys State, an annual event that is basically this week-long camp/conference for teenage boys in Texas that is designed to simulate the state elections. Every year, 1,100 boys are selected for the program, which is supposed to teach them what it's like to be in politics. They are divided randomly into two parties named Nationalists and Federalists. The names are basically the only thing that's decided from the beginning about the parties. These two parties don't actually have anything else about them at the beginning. It is up for the participants to decide on a party program, to select who will lead the party, who will vote during the mock state debates on new legislation, and then conduct primaries for governor. And then once each party has selected their candidate, the week concludes with the governor selection, with one candidate from each party in the final selection. And I have to say, as an inside look into the mechanics of American politics, the film is absolutely brilliant. I think its key strength lies in how controlled it is with its own commentary, because there pretty much is none. We do focus on four of the boys, two of the governor candidates and two leaders of the opposing parties. We follow them through the week and we get additional interviews with them. But the filmmakers themselves do not interject pretty much at all. It's just the boys' actions and words and their introspective interviews where they sort of self-analyze what's going on. And boy, a lot is going on. Throughout the week, pretty much every single relevant flaw of the modern day American political system is exposed. We see examples of hypocrisy and lack of moral spine, pandering to the views of the majority in order to just gain votes, and how that behavior is rewarded. This pandering, regardless of the conflict between personal views and party platform. There is this wonderful contrasting pair of participants where one is this bold, loud, out there, charismatic guy, but he otherwise lacks substance. He's this hype man. And the other, which is a polar opposite, quiet, calm guy who genuinely tries to engage with the other people, to be constructive of what he's doing. And we see them clash. We see examples of using slander and political assassination of opposing candidates instead of factual debates and discussion. We see lying and unethical actions. We even see the effect of social media and memes, which are shown capable of basically swaying the entire election. What strikes me most, perhaps, is how often the boys themselves correctly identify these things in front of the camera and basically admit that what they're doing is the wrong thing, but ethically and morally, but they still have no shame in continuing to do it because they're rewarded for it. They're like, the election has to be won by any means necessary, and we're just doing that. There's actually a fantastic little bit at the beginning where the rules are explained to the participants, and one of them raises their hand and asks, okay, so there's the election, and what's next? What is the responsibility of the winner following that election? And the guy says, well, there's nothing. That's the end of the experiment. Winning itself is the final reward. It kind of makes you think how much that way of thinking must then apply to the grown-up politics, right? Especially as we know for a fact that a lot of those participants, year by year, do end up going into American politics. And they most likely continue to apply what they've learned. And that's fucking terrifying. What was also interesting to me, as a European especially, was the look into the two-party system. In my country, there are several different political parties, and yeah, in each election you can point to the two most popular ones, most relevant. But the remaining ones can and do matter in creating the opposition. They create this counterbalance, I think, which is extremely important in a functioning democracy. That you don't just have these two alternatives and nothing else, that you're always forced to vote for the lesser evil. In America, you do only have two parties, and even though the ones in the experiment are not representative of Democrats and Republicans by any means. In fact, if you look at the policies that those both state parties represent, both are rather close to Republican. But immediately after the boys are split, there is this rivalry, which basically looks like being a fan of a sports team. There's shouting and chanting and this immediate rhetoric of us versus them. No matter how similar we may be or what the differences are specifically, we're now enemies. Our team is better. Their team sucks. The end. There's no looking at actual merit, actual discussion. And that, as far as I'm aware, is the case for a lot of Americans in the grown-up politics. Only it goes further because a lot of the people never switched the team. If you're born into a Republican family, raised in that society, you vote Republican your whole life, no matter what the party is actually doing. There's nothing that would make you switch. And of course, that doesn't apply to everybody, but there is undoubtedly a substantial part of the society that operates this way, which to me is honestly batshit insane. Boys State gives you a glimpse of all of that and more through this microcosm of teenagers playing politics, and at times it looks surprisingly close to the real thing, which, if you consider that those are 17-year-olds, can be funny, can be terrifying, and in the case of the film as a whole, can also be riveting. Great stuff.